All governments are inherently immoral and criminal institutions because they force everyone under threat of violence to pay mandatory taxes for life. There are numerous taxes, including property tax, income tax, and inheritance tax. If you refuse to pay them, the government will seize your bank account, garnish your wages, or arrest and imprison you. This behavior mirrors that of the Mafia governments demand regular payments, promise safety and protection if you comply, and send agents to enforce compliance if you don't. If taxes were voluntary, governments wouldn't be inherently immoral or criminal because they would rely solely on donations, making their existence dependent on voluntarism. If governments spent money wisely and provided valuable services, people might willingly donate to social programs, infrastructure, and education. However, since taxes are compulsory and much of the revenue goes towards politicians' pockets, privatization of these services might benefit society more, allowing the free market and local communities to decide their own needs rather than relying on corrupt and immoral governments. Another despicable limitation enforced by all governments is the restriction on our natural right to international travel. The world is one undivided whole, and borders are merely man-made constructs with no reality outside our minds. Everyone must be born somewhere, so governments quickly brand you with the curse of nationality at birth. This entails a new set of taxes and mandates, including the requirement to carry an expensive, microchipped passport, check in with the immigration office regularly, and pay for temporary visa stamps. Governments require work permits and annual fees to work abroad, making the taxes and headaches never-ending. Regarding land rights, the concept of ownership is undermined by the need to pay property taxes. If you truly owned the land, why would you have to pay annual fees? The government holds the ultimate title and can seize your property at any time, highlighting the illusory nature of ownership. Governments provide nothing that private communities couldn't do better, more easily and more efficiently. Every piece of land is controlled by some form of forced governance, leaving no place on earth for sovereign individuals to live freely without government interference. Governments, regardless of their form, mandate violence and slavery upon their populations. They force us to pay a significant percentage of our income, sometimes up to 60%, which can be considered a form of slavery. Even taking 1% of someone's income by force is immoral. Governments exercise mind control, convincing people that they are moral and altruistic institutions, when in reality they operate like open-air slave plantations. The only just system of governance is one based on anarchism, agorism, or voluntarism, where all interactions are voluntary and governments are funded solely by donations. The current justice system is corrupt, relying on systematic punishment rather than true justice. The millions of laws on record are excessive and often unnecessary. A common law system that deals only with matters involving injury, theft, or breach of contract would be sufficient. Eliminating unnecessary laws would drastically reduce the number of court cases and the prison population. Many people are imprisoned for victimless crimes, and the system often protects truly evil individuals from facing true justice. Governments, like countries, borders, and laws, are abstract concepts that don't actually exist. Only people exist, and without individuals willing to enforce government mandates, there would be no government. If people stopped working for the government, paying taxes, and voting, the government would cease to exist. Government employees, from soldiers to politicians, are essentially beneficiaries of stolen money, making their employment immoral and criminal. The entire system is built on coercion and violence, and it's time for people to realize this and stand up against it. Working for the government, funded by stolen money, is immoral, and we should reject any occupation built on such foundations. Supporting troops or government employees is supporting a system based on theft and violence. In conclusion, the entire government system, including the justice system, is fundamentally flawed and immoral. The only solution is a system based on voluntary interactions and the rejection of forced governance. By doing so, we can create a society based on true freedom and justice.